How you going, year 8? Welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the shape of different data sets. Okay. Now the shape is a way that we can describe how the data is distributed across the scores. Okay. Is it pretty much continuous, or does it have bits that are separated by gaps, etc., etc.? Now we're going to look at three key definitions of words here. We're looking at clusters, outliers, and gaps. Okay, now a cluster is an area of the data where there's a high density of that data. Okay, so you might have some points here and there, but then a particular score or a particular range in that the whole data set where there's lots and lots of data points. Okay, an outlier is on either the lower or the upper end of the data set, and those outliers would be far away from the rest of the data. Okay, so we sort of see those as data points that aren't typical of the behavior of the rest of the data. They kind of do their own thing. That can sometimes be caused by various things, but outliers can be the cause of lots of interesting discussion about why they are there. So gaps are areas in the data where there are no data points. Sorry, let me just fix that. Okay, so you might have some data points in the lower end and then a gap and then some on the higher end. So we just need to be able to identify these for these particular questions here. So for question A, we just have a list of data. We've got monthly rainfall, we've got 25 mil, 16 mil, 6 mil, 27, 28, and 96. Okay, so we can see here we've got the 25, the 16, the 27, the 28 are all around the sort of same mark. They're all within 12 mils of each other. But then you've got on the lower end 6 mil, which is sort of an outlier down the bottom. And then you've got 96 mils, which is way, way above the rest of the data. Okay, so we have a lower outlier, which is at the 6 millimeters, and then an upper outlier, of 96 millimeters. Okay, so those two data points are sort of far away from the rest of the data point on the lower end and the upper end. Okay, so we call them outliers. In B, we have a stem and leaf plot, and we can see that there's clearly a cluster around the 50 mark. Okay, so between 50 and 60, you have a lot of data points in that point. So we can identify that range from 50 to 60 as having a really high density of data points. We call that a cluster. Okay, and then finally for C, we can see here we have some people who only got 1 or 2 mistakes in their spelling mistake, and then no one got 3 or 4 mistakes, and then there were a bunch of people who got more than or 5 or more. So we can see here clearly there's a gap between 3 to 4 mistakes. Okay, so outliers, gaps, clusters, we need to be able to use this key terminology when we're describing the shape of a data set, whether that data is displayed as a list, whether it's a stem and leaf plot, whether it's a histogram or whatever kind of display, we need to be able to use this terminology. Okay, good luck with the work today, and enjoy the weekend when it comes, and I'll see you next week.